Okay, welcome everybody to this webinar. As you come in, let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know where you're at. Super excited to have this conversation today. And what we're going to be talking about is how the buyer experience has changed and how sellers or sales leaders in the room that we might have here today on how you can adapt to that. So as you come in here, let us know where you're tuning in from. Let us know where you're at as we dive into this conversation, and then we'll introduce everyone here on the panel today on what we're going to talk about. I think as we all know right now, as we go into this year and as we continue to go into the years with everything going on, there's a lot of changes and a lot of things happening, which is why we're here to discuss it from people who have and currently leading teams on how you can also do this for yourself. So as we go throughout this conversation, if you have any questions, make sure to put it in the Q&A, stay active in the chat, and then we'll dive into it from there. For both of you, how's your day going? Before we go into it, how are y'all doing?
I mean, I'm doing good. We were talking before this about the weather because clearly we're lunatics and we start conversations talking about the weather. I wish it were a little bit warmer in the Midwest, but outside of that, we're going to persevere through it. That's how we're going to do it today.
Okay.
And I'm good. And can I just say, it wasn't me that's talked about the weather. It's normally the Brits that talk about the weather in every conversation.
Well, we were trying to make you comfortable. We were trying to make you comfortable. We were just trying to be accommodating.
We knew it was going to go there.
Yeah, we knew we
were asking the weather, so we decided, hey, let's just go ahead and get there right now. Cool. All right, y'all. So let's dive in, and then as we go through this, obviously questions we can go through it. So let's just do quick introductions here. We'll go from left to right. Ollie, if you want to do a quick introduction of yourself, and then also as well, let's have a fun question here. Where is a destination that you would like to go to that you have not been to yet?
That's a very good timing of question. Anyway, so my name's Ollie Sharpe. I am CRO at Trumpet, which is a digital sales room built to help buyers, a tool to help your buyers buy from you. I started my career doing door-to-door sales, but then I went into LinkedIn. I was at LinkedIn from the very early days for 10 years. And then I set up Sales Loft in EMEA. I was the MD for EMEA at Sales Loft. Built them up to 25 million, and then moved on to advise Trumpet, and now I am CRO permanent for them. The place, and the reason why it's good timing is I get about 5 texts from my wife every hour about, come on, I'm booking a holiday. Just as I came on here, it said, well, I've booked the holiday. I was saying I would like to go to Thailand. I've never been to Thailand, and I would love to go to Thailand. It looks just like a nice, relaxed atmosphere to go to. That's my place.
Okay. Christina,
love it. I am Christina. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Luster. We proactively identify the skill gaps of your go-to-market team. We use that data to predict revenue impacting mistakes that they're about to make on actual calls, and then proactively interject to ensure that doesn't happen by offering additional training, coaching, role play, and so on. So Luster is the crystal ball predicting and preventing revenue impacting mistakes for all go-to-market teams. My background is I'm an 18-year go-to-market veteran. I've been a trainer for the last 15 years. I'm trained in 7 different methodologies, and I've advised over 150 different startups. And so helping people to up-level at work is definitely my passion. And the one place, if you know me, that has always eluded me has been Paris. I have had multiple moments where I've tried to plan a trip to Paris, and it's been my dream forever because I'm a lover of fashion and all things culture. And every single time it just hasn't worked out. And so I'm still to this day hoping that one day I'll get out there to Paris.
Shout out to Paris. This is going to make you slightly upset, Christina, but this is just part of the story.
Good.
So I accidentally, I didn't even plan this. I was a sales kickoff, and it was the same week as Fashion Week. I didn't even know. I literally didn't know.
Are you telling? Well, I'm sitting here pouring my heart out, laying my trauma out in front of all these people that I may know or may not know. And you're like, I accidentally went to Paris during Fashion Week, the one thing that you've dreamed of doing your whole life. How was it?
But the thing is, I went so I can validate that it's well worth it, because now you have.
I should go.
I have a validated, trusted person now to tell you that it was actually a really good time and it was like super cool. So now look forward to even more, because it could have been.
I'm going to look forward to it more. Yeah, I have more FOMO now. Thank you. Yeah,
actually, like really, really cool. Like the fact, like it was so wild, and then like I went to the Louvre after too. Like shout out to Paris, it was cool. It was a good time.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So Real quick, I'm Morgan. I'm the moderator here today. This series is called the Sales Symphony, and our whole entire goal here is to enable you as a sales leader and a seller to adjust to what is going on in the buyer landscape. So we decided here to guide this conversation. A quick thing on me, I run AMP, and so basically at the end of the day, we help people with social selling, content, etc. for B2B organizations. And where would I like to go? So I was asked this question a couple of days ago, and I would go to Croatia Yacht Week. The water is beautiful. I heard it's a good time. This is just what they tell me. So that's where I would like to go. That's my spot. Cool. So let's get into the conversation. Appreciate people in the chat. Again, if you're just coming in, let us know where you're tuning in from. And let's talk about what we're going to learn today. And then we're going to get into the content, which is why you're here. So these are the three things we're going to talk about. How to think like a buyer when you're selling, strategies for building a sales cycle that buyers enjoy, and tips on how to stand out in the buyer journey. And how we're going to do this is we're just going to cover 3 plays on how you're going to do this. So we're going to have them talk about how to choose your own adventure, and we'll explain what that means here in a minute, flipping the funnel and modern sales enablement. So if you're in this conversation today, the goal that we have is that you walk away with 1 or 2 to 3 things that you can tactically go do so that you can be better at your jobs and at what you do organizational-wise, right? So, but the first thing I want to start off with for both of you, you both have led big sales organizations. You currently are in or working with a lot of sales teams. What do you think from you being a seller to now being a sales leader or leader of people in sales has changed from the buyer's perspective? And what are people not paying attention to that they should? We'll start with Christina, and then we'll just have a conversation around it.
You know, I hear people say a lot, and I've said it too. Like if you play back some of the webinars or podcasts that I've been on where it's like buyers are changing. And I don't know if buyers are changing or if they're just being more bold about what they want. Because I don't know that people have ever liked buying the way that people sell to them. Like, I don't know the buyers have ever been like, I actually love this. I love like from walking down the mall and having somebody at a kiosk like squirt lotion in your face to like a SaaS typical buying. Like, I don't know that anybody ever really likes that. If you think about how you like to buy, you want to be able to go into a place where you would like to purchase something. You would like assistance with that, but you want to understand what the price is. You want to understand what the differences are. You want to be able to do your research. You don't want to have to go through a bunch of different hoops. You don't want to talk to 8 different salespeople to figure out what kind of pair of jeans you want to buy. And yet this is kind of what we put buyers through, not just in SaaS, but in almost any industry. And so I don't know necessarily that it's like buyers loved that and now buyers have changed. I think they've realized that human beings all buy the exact same way, no matter what it is. And I've talked about this before, but it's really like, do I have a problem? Should I solve that problem? Should I solve that problem right now? And then and only then am I deciding if I should solve that problem with you? And that goes if you are buying technology or if you are trying to figure out what restaurant you want to go to lunch to, right? Like, am I hungry? Yes, I'm hungry all the time. Should I eat? I probably should eat something at some point. Should I eat right now? Actually, I haven't eaten yet today. I'm going to go hit Taco Bell, right? Like no matter what you are buying, you are always going through this buying process. And that's always been the case. But traditional B2B or B2C sales has never actually aligned with that. It's been, I think I have the essence of a problem and it's somebody cramming a solution down your throat so fast that you can't even think twice. And your priorities and what you care about are never even thought about. And so I think buyers have just finally said like, that's enough. And I would like to buy software or services or products the same way that I buy groceries at the grocery store.
Do you know what a kiosk is?
Do I know what a kiosk is?
Oh, Ollie, I want to make sure. Ollie, do you know what a kiosk is?
Yeah. I know what a kiosk is, yes.
Okay,
We do have these things over here. We're not that behind the times.
No, honestly, thank goodness.
I was on a webinar the other day. We mentioned kiosk. Someone from the UK did not know what that meant. So I'm just being, considerate. Making sure you're in the conversation.
Thank you, Morgan. I appreciate it.
I'm just trying. All right, but based on what Christina said, do you agree with that? Or how do you see things?
I think Christina's completely right. And it is like going in a shop, but you don't want the people coming to you straight away. You want to look around and work out for yourself a little bit. And you want them to give you the information when you need it. The difference is now people are turning up at the shop with 10 other people giving them advice that work on the same team as them. And they're bringing the whole family along. And basically every family member has a different view and a different priority. So, and I mean, we know now that buyers are only spending like 17% of their time with people selling to them. They're doing the rest themselves. So, and when they're doing it, they've got more stakeholders. They're now like 7 to 10 stakeholders that are involved. So it's just become a lot harder, but you've got to listen to their needs more. I don't think it's no longer this linear motion that you're taking them along, and then they're bringing in the C-suite more. So I think it's completely changed. But to say that our mindset is still how it used to be, we don't want to be sold to. We really want to do the buying process as we want. And also, we're sort of being transformed into 10 shops at one time because we're having 10 tools given to us at the same time. So with all of the different ways to communicate, only want to speak to people a small amount of time, and there's so many people involved, we've got to think differently about that sales process, or we're just going to annoy them.
Yeah. And for people that are listening in, I'm curious, I want to hear your perspective on this. What is the last thing that you bought? And tell us a little bit about that journey. And I'm going to ask you too, before we get into the plays, what is the last thing that you bought? It doesn't have to be software. What was the last thing you bought? And then how did you come to that conclusion? Or Christina, was that your real story about you getting to the conclusion of Taco Bell? I don't know if that was like a real story, but if you want to, I don't know. Maybe
I make very conscious decisions about my Taco Bell consumption on a daily basis. No, that's just how people think through everything. Also, and I'm going to answer that, but Ollie, to your point, it's like people don't want to be sold to until they do. And when you get to that point, there's so many steps that are above that are skipped over, which is why we feel like our buyers never want us to sell to them, is we never earn the right to do that. And then when we earn the right to do that, then you kind of want to sit back and you want to be sold to. So I would say the last thing that I bought that was meaningful was a couch. And the reason that I'm bringing this up is that is such a big decision, buying a couch. Like, is it going to be comfortable? Is it going to wear well? Is it going to be pet friendly? I have a 7-year-old who is like a trash goblin. And like, am I going to be able to get the stains out of it? Is it going to look nice? Is it going to last? And so you think about, like, I was in analysis paralysis for the longest time trying to buy a couch. And then you know that when you start looking at different websites, then they all target you. And so for like 4 months, my entire Instagram feed was exclusively couches. And I could not tell the difference between any of them. And it ultimately just came down to me looking at reviews and third-party endorsements and then having to trust that. And so I think that's the other thing, is that the biggest thing that gives you the comfort to buy is not the salesperson telling you how amazing it is. It's that third-party endorsement, right? If I'm buying jeans at a store and I'm standing and I'm looking at the wall of jeans and I'm completely overwhelmed, and the salesperson comes over and is like, do you know what the best pair of jeans here is? It's this one. It's going to look amazing on you. I'm like, go away. I don't trust you. You're a salesperson. You probably get the most commission on those, right? If another customer comes over and says, no, actually, I bought those last week, they're incredible, I'd be like, oh my God, thank you, and grab those, right? So that's the other piece of it, is how do you involve the stories of people that you have delighted to help people feel comfortable and build trust? That so rarely happens in software and services buying cycles.
Yeah. Okay. And Martha said, for big purchases, I have to go see it. I agree. Ollie, talk to us.
Last thing I bought that was worth any money was a car. I did change my car. And I think that I just wanted to look around. I'm rubbish with cars. I'm not that person that knows anything about that. I made a mistake with my last car because it had a too big engine that I didn't know it had. So I was just getting points and stuff. So I had to downsize my car, the engine size. I just wanted to look around. But what really impressed me, I went to this garage and I was with my wife, and he even said, and what is it that you want from this car, to my wife? And it was just, he did a really good job of understanding the two stakeholders there, understanding what we wanted from it separately and stuff. And I was just really impressed with the sales process. But yeah, it was a car, and he understood what I wanted. I think he tried to upsell me a little bit into a newer car, but he didn't get there. But it was a big purchase because I don't know what I'm doing, and I needed the guidance. But I had a lot of questions, but I wanted the questions answered at the right time. I wanted to look first.
Yeah, and that leads into like the play number one, which is choosing your own adventure. And I'll come back to you based on what you all are doing, overall at Trumpet, and obviously the mission is, you just mentioned it, is that like, hey, sometimes the person doesn't know what they're doing, right? The seller, to a degree, right, knows a lot of what's going on because they should know the buyer journey because they're selling it more often than the person who's buying. So, but you want to make it easy so they don't feel confused and overwhelmed and like, what do I do? So, Ollie, from your perspective, when you think about choose your own adventure, obviously there's digital sales rooms and there's things of that nature, but what are you telling your sales team? What are you telling other sellers on how they can provide a better buyer experience so they're not confused with the buyer, they feel overwhelmed, and then they don't do anything?
I think that for me, and we were talking about this as a team the other day, that you've got to think about every single individual in the buying process. You've got to think about what they need, what their education level is, what their pain point is, and it's as though you're building a value pyramid for every individual that you're talking to. Company objective stays the same, but the pain of the problem differs from all of them. So it's very much not just giving personalized content, but a complete personalized journey. So it's giving the right information at the right time to the right person around their needs. And that's what, I mean, we talk about it regularly. Personalized persona specific content is 20% increase in win rate and 30% reduction in sales cycle. So if you can do that and just tailor what you're giving, and some people don't need it. I mean, don't bring security in until they need stuff. It's very much that, and it's just breaking it down to an extreme level for every person and team that you have. And we use Rapid Framework, which is a Bain framework for decision making, normally used internally. You've got to get every stakeholder, you understand every stakeholder, build a decision criteria for every stakeholder, understand their pains, all of those, and it just becomes quite complex to do a thorough, good job, but it's what's needed because it's the buyer process. I do think that mistakes are made when we think about what a sales process is without taking into consideration the buyer, their education level, and what they want as their process.
Yeah, my follow-up question is what Martha just asked, which is, how do you execute that personalized journey? You mentioned buyer personas. Like, how exactly are you finding this information out so that they feel like it's personalized towards them?
I mean, we've got one at the moment that it's early stage and we've already got 8 stakeholders in. And that's early stage. We know that's going to double or triple within the next month or so. So it's just about being thorough. I mean, it's by actually understanding the company objective, getting the right people involved, building out a proper decision process with everybody in it, but then having individual conversations. We're doing an individual conversation with every stakeholder and understanding them and building their own value pyramid so that we can actually make sure we're ticking all boxes, that we don't have a detractor in there.
Okay. Martha, let us know if that helped answer the question. With that being said, Christina, same question to you.
I mean, I would say we often spend so much time trying to guess what the buyer needs. And oftentimes assuming that they even know their own process. And so the first thing that I like to do is take a step back and be like, how do you like to buy software? What does the process actually look like? What is helpful for you? What information do you need and when? Is there anybody else from my team that I can loop in? Like, one of my favorite things to do for multi-threading is instead of asking them to bring people in, I offer who I can bring in, right? And so like, who on my team would be helpful for you to talk to? Would it be helpful to talk to products? Sometimes we want to talk to, like, would it be helpful for us to pull in ops? Can we pull in the CSM that you might be talking to talk a little bit about the journey? Hey, if I'm going to do that, maybe you should loop in so-and-so, right? So one, it's how do we collaborate? Two, ask them how they like to buy software. Offer up some of the journeys that some of your other customers have actually gone on. And what you will find that has surprised me a lot is a lot of buyers don't actually know how to buy software at that organization. Like, if you are talking to somebody at a company who's been there less than 6 months, you might be their first purchase. And so you're assuming that they understand the mechanics of procurement at their organization and how it works, and you're going along with it. 6 months later, the deal's not closed and you don't know why. And it's because they're navigating it for the first time. And so I think the thing that I will add, because I agree with everything that Ollie said, is ask people what their process looks like, and guide them, and be willing to break the sales process that's sitting in your CRM, because those rarely work for every single customer. There's an end in mind that you have to have in every conversation that you are having, and the proactive offer to help. So when Ollie's talking about the fact, like, you have 8 different stakeholders, that's not unheard of. I've worked enterprise accounts in the last 3 years. We had 13, 14 different stakeholders. One thing to remember is that not every stakeholder is going to be a decision maker. Not every stakeholder is going to be a buyer, right? If you think about a traditional RACI model, right? Some people are there to make a decision. Some people are there to support the decision. Some people are there to move the decision along. And some people are there to merely be informed. Do you understand which one is which so that you're not spending all of your time selling to the people who need to be informed versus the people making the decision? And so there's a lot more work that you have to do on your end to really understand the mechanics of what's happening and be open about ambiguity and work together with the customer. Last thing that I will say is be open to helping them do their research and present a business case. The number of times I have had a prospect who's like, I'm going to go ahead and my job is to put together a business case to buy this software. And I go, can I help you with that business case? Like, can I help you with that? How about I give you a draft to start with and you and I can work together, even get a mutual action plan going where together we are building this business case. And hey, would it be helpful if we built a different business case based on the different people who are involved and their involvement in this deal? Like, you have to be willing to do that work, which means you can't be lazy and you have to care.
I think just jumping in on that, I think that, I mean, completely right. It's become more of a collaborative process.
Yes.
Very rarely do you come across someone, if they're not in procurement, that goes, yeah, I've bought loads of times, leave it with me, I know what I'm doing. And as soon as you say to them, well, most companies, what they'd look to do at this stage is X, whether it's building a decision criteria, whatever, their eyes light up and they're like, okay, I'm getting some help here. And like HubSpot did some research and they found that if you are doing a collaborative sales process, then your close rates go up by 30%.
If not
so,
more.
I mean, just partner them and work with them is the answer to what we need to do.
Yeah, a couple follow-ups here. Christina, I want to dive a little bit more into you said in working with them, get a little bit more, I guess, the strategy for other sales leaders on how they can lead their teams. Is it like, hey, we work on a mutual action plan, you get on a call with them within the next couple of days and work on that together? Should you craft it and then present it to that person and then they provide feedback? I know it's different for everybody, but could you walk through a little bit more on that? And then Ollie, will come back to you based on what a follow-up question that Martha had.
Yeah. To that point, the whole point of a mutual action plan is we mutually agree on what are the actions needed in order for this deal to progress forward. So the first step of any mutual action plan is, how do you typically like to buy and what makes the most sense in terms of us working together collaboratively, right? Like, should we first hop on a call and discuss what all of the elements of this are? Would you like me to take a shot at that? What have you done in the past? The first step is just to gain alignment on what are going to be the steps of the mutual action plan and then assigning out who does what. So any good mutual action plan isn't just a document that has a list of things that has to get done. It has a document where each person has things assigned to them to get done. And your job as the sales rep is to hold them and yourself accountable to staying on track for that, right? So there's the mutual action plan, then there's the management of the mutual action plan, and then there's the why behind it. Don't just throw people into a mutual action plan if you are not at that stage of the process where it makes sense. Because I also see this happen too, where too early in the deal, when you have not fully earned the right to sell your product, you start throwing things at them like mutual action plans, and people are like, whoa, right? Your customers are not going to want to go through this long iterative process with multiple vendors that they are shopping. They want to get to the point where they are pretty close to deciding which is the right one before you get to that place. So it's also a gut check to recognize, do you understand your buyer's signals? Do you have a relationship that is built on trust? Have you asked the question? Have you asked the question of, it seems like we are aligned that you have a problem that you want and need to solve right now? Are you in a position where you are able to say that you are confident that we are the ones? And if so, let's move into our mutual action plan process and let's firm this in. If you haven't asked that question and you don't know, you are jumping blindly into a mutual action plan that may never turn into a deal. And then you're spending your time there versus with other customers who, while you're deserting them, they're talking to your competition. So process always wins over, but process doesn't mean that you are rigid in terms of how buyers buy. It means, again, you understand the end in mind of every step that you have, and you are open with your customer about that.
Yeah. Would you add anything to that answer, Christina, based on what Raj is asking here? Doesn't this collaborative process come in post-discovery or validating opportunity? How's the personalized journey at the time of lead qualification or pre-discovery call change?
Collaborative process starts from the very first conversation that you have from them. There is no world where it's like, first, you're in my world. I'm the sales rep and I'm going to run my process on you. I'm going to get you through BANT. I'm going to hit the first 3 letters of medic or medpic or whatever you use. And then when I'm ready, now it's time to be collaborative. Like, picture if human beings interacted with each other that way. The collaboration starts at the very beginning. Sometimes on my first conversation with potential customers, I'm asking those questions of, how do you typically like to buy? Do you know what your process looks like? What do you need to feel confident that you're spending your budget in a way that's going to look good on you for your brand? Because don't forget, when people at organizations buy new tools, they are putting their brand on the line for your tool. If you have ever bought a tool for an organization and that tool wound up being terrible, do you know who that impacts the most? The person who is your champion, the person who is the buyer, and they know that and they've been burned. So that collaborative process starts on the very first call, right? I will ask, what things do you need to know to feel confident to even talk to me again? Do you need to understand the security clearances of the product? Do you need to understand what budgeting might look like? Do you need to ask them those questions? And if they don't know, now you can guide them. If they do know, now you become a trusted seller. So it's from the moment that you start talking to them or emailing them that you want them to feel that collaborative process.
Awesome. No, thank you for that, Raj. Let's know if that answers it. Let's go to Martha. So, and then we'll go to the play too. So, Ollie, on this question, it's just a more granular on that personalized journey. We're talking about when you go into targeting account, how you pick the targeted accounts. Okay, you said you have a large buying committee. How large can it get? Is there something of being it too large, right? Where there's too many people? Like, walk us through that.
Well, you don't control how large it is. It's the buyer that controls how large it is. And if you're blind to it, then you're missing out. I mean, we had a company that we were talking to that our tool actually uncovers hidden stakeholders. So we were talking to a company. We actually only had 6 people that we were communicating with, but 43 people had been in our pod. So we knew that 43 people were actually, or there was, I'm doing the maths, 36 people, 37 people that we weren't talking to that had an interest or a say in what was happening. And that was very interesting to us. So you're better, a lot of the time, you don't know what you don't know. And if you're using tools that you're sending something over and you don't know whether they haven't come back to you, you're better off knowing if people are looking at something or who else you're not talking to than you are keeping blind to it. So it's them that decides how many people are involved, and you've got to make sure you're providing the right content and the right story and the right solution to the pains to those people, because if you're not, you'll miss out. And just going back to Raj's question, and I completely agree with Christina. I think it's done in a different way. So you don't turn up to your first call and talk about paper process. You turn up to the first call agreeing that what this step is around. Oh, we agreed that we'll have this call. I'll show you this. I'll understand more about your business. And at the end of that, we can work out whether it's right to go forward for both parties. That's already collaboration. So even though it's different, it's still collaborative planning.
Awesome. Raj, Martha, let us know that helped to answer it. We're going to move to point 2, because it kind of is what we were talking about, which is flipping the funnel. And what that means in this context, because that can mean a lot of different things, is how do you focus on helping the sellers become more buyer-led so that obviously they can guide them along this journey? Things are obviously different, and so people have to prepare that accordingly. So, Christina, I want to come to you. When you're thinking about and you're working with your clients, talking to maybe teams that you advise or coach on, how are you helping them become more buyer-led in what they do instead of seller-led? And all of us have been on demos where we've wanted to jump out of the window. So let's figure out how to do the opposite of that.
Yeah, this actually doesn't start with the sellers. It starts with the leadership and the culture of the organization, right? Like, sellers have been managed to CRM fields and gates and rigid sales processes for their entire careers. And so if you try to go to your sales reps and tell them, like, guys, guess what? From now on, I want you to be more buyer centric. It's very difficult and doesn't necessarily feel safe for them to make that flip. And they might not even know what that means, because keep in mind, sales reps, 18-year sales veteran here, we're coin operated, right? So if you tell me to be more buyer focused, my end in mind is always going to be, I want to close the deals. I want to make the commission. I want to be the best. I want to be promoted. And that doesn't mean that sales reps don't want to help their customers. They do. But when you say be more buyer centric, the first thing that you have to do is define what that means and recognize that by being more buyer centric, you are going to achieve those targets. So step one is sales leadership needs to redefine what the sales process looks like and make sure that people understand how to be buyer centric, and make sure that their sales process and what they are managing people against actually supports that. Because don't tell your sales team that they're not allowed to discuss pricing until post demo. And then when the sales reps have a customer ask what it's going to cost on the first call and they give them pricing, then punish them for that. Right. And so you have to be aware of where the rigid pieces in your sales process are actually stopping you from being buyer centric. And so the first thing that I would say is, if you are trying to flip this on its head, one of the things that I do now, because again, as a CEO and co-founder of my own tech company, I'm doing a lot of the selling. And when I have somebody that reaches out and they're like, hey, I'm interested, I want to learn more about Luster, what I do is I email them back and I say, that is awesome. Are you looking for a demo? Are you looking to have a deeper needs conversation? Do you just want to learn more high-level information about the platform? Like, where's your level of curiosity right now? And they will come back and say all different things. But let's say they come back and they say, I would love a demo. And I say, great. I know calendar time is precious. Do you want to book time and have me walk you through a demo? Do you want me to send you a couple of videos that walk you through the experience? Do you want me to show you one of the case studies from a customer so you can understand the outcomes? What's going to help you at this point to best shop for the product? And so it starts there, where I am letting them tell me what they need. And then I am supplying that. And I get all different answers. I get people who are like, I want to hop on a call. I get other folks. We had a deal that closed and he was like, I just love a video of a demo, to be honest. And I said, that's awesome. Any other information I can send along? He's like, pricing would be great. I said, that's fantastic. I'll give you a range. Literally sent him a video of a demo, sent him the pricing. They signed the contract 2 weeks later. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to work every single time, but because you're asking and then you're delivering and you're showing up, that's what you have to do. If you were to look at what I did with that deal against a traditional sales process 5 years ago, a sales manager would have punched me in the face for doing that, right? But that got it done. And so we have to stop with the rigid behavior at the top and really understand, what do our buyers need to buy? That could be different for every single company. If you've never done that exercise before, or you don't know the answer, and you are instituting a sales process and methodology with your team, you're making massive mistakes. So I would start with having that conversation internally.
I think those are really good examples of being, I guess, audible ready is what I've heard quite often. Being audible ready to figure out, okay, like I do this, because like, to your point, if you're so stuck in your process being like, well, I gotta ask these questions and I gotta have this thing, you would have missed the opportunity to send the video to actually close the deal, because they would have been frustrated. So Correct. Being audible ready is incredibly important.
Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like, before we go, I think there's a question here. Okay, cool. You talked about sending videos, and Morgan mentioned one of your posts about sending a video part of LinkedIn content. How important is it to help them visualize your product and people behind it as part of the sales enablement? So, Christina, if you want to speak a little bit to that, and then Ollie will come to you for the other play.
Yeah, it's huge, right? Like, sending videos is one way to help people shop for the product before they buy. Most of the time, as good as you think your messaging is, I would say that probably 20% of the people who come across your brand actually understand what you do. And we assume that they know that. And so the more that you can help your customers to understand what problems of theirs you are able to solve, the better off you're going to be when you actually do spend calendar time with them. And so I would say it's also not just one video, right? Like, when I have a customer that's like, I would love to see a quick video demo, I'll ask a couple questions back, or I'll look up their organization and understand, like, okay, who are they? What industry? Who is this person? What kind of team do they have? what kind of problems based on my industry knowledge do I think that they want to solve? And then I will send them something that helps them to understand how we solve their problem, right? It's all about enabling that curiosity so that they want to lean in more and say like, hey, that video was really cool. Like think about a trailer to a movie, right? The best trailers tell you just enough. They don't give everything away, but to the point where you're like, ooh, I got to see that, right? The demo video that you're sending is your movie trailer, right? How do you get people who watch that and go, okay, I want to spend my time with you now? So it's a huge part of it. Video content, sending them the video of you just talking to them, a video of the product, a video of you explaining the product, a video of you walking through a case study instead of just sending them a PDF attached to an email, right? Video content and letting them see you and hear you is absolutely powerful.
So now we have to ask, for everybody in the audience, what is your favorite movie trailer? Christina and Ollie, what is your favorite movie trailer? And then Ollie, we're going to come to you for your flip in the funnel play. I'm actually curious what y'all think. What's your favorite movie trailer?
Oh my God, my favorite. You know what's going to be a wild answer is, do you remember the movie Pacific Rim?
Wait, that was actually going to be my. That
No, it wasn't.
actually is the best movie trailer, I think, of all time.
That movie trailer, I remember I watched it and I was like, what are these robots? Are these monsters? That music is so good. I was like, I gotta see this movie. I gotta see. And then it was really good. Like, so yeah.
No, Pacific Rim, I think, is the best movie trailer because it's so intriguing because you don't really know what's going on. And then you watch the movie and you're like, I still kind of don't know what's going on.
But
And then
I
at
love
the end, you're like, wait, this is such a good movie. I think the movie trailer of Pacific Rim is my answer, actually, because I just think it draws you in. You really don't know what you're getting yourself into. And like 10 minutes of the movie, you're like, I still don't really know what's going on yet.
like a kaijus and like, what is the, like, I don't, Jaegers, what the, yeah, I mean, it's the best.
Yeah, that one is pretty crazy. Ollie, what is it for you?
I love Deadpool, the films, and the actual trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, brilliant. Film, not my bag whatsoever. The Deadpool ones, but not with Wolverine. But the trailer was really good, so I had high hopes. So that really let me down. But yeah, that is a very good trailer. But Deadpool's just brilliant.
You didn't like the tiny little Wolverine? I laughed so hard in the theater that I almost got kicked
Ollie's
out.
not about it.
I'm more just Deadpool. I'm not into all the other characters. Deadpool's just brilliant.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, Ollie gave that an F, so everybody knows why.
Yeah. Don't hold it against me. So when it comes to the play that you were talking about, I think there's a few things, and I agree it has to come from leadership. And I think that gone are the days where you give a script and get these questions answered, and that's just not what we should be doing. I think the importance of EQ within a salesperson is huge now. If you can find someone if you find a good salesperson without EQ, they're missing something. They're not going to actually excel. They need the compassion, and that's about the listening skills. It's about asking questions to understand, rather than asking questions and thinking about your next question and all of those kind of things. And that's one thing that I think we should train people on. I think that the actual sales process, I mean, Medic came around when Dick Dunkel was at PTC, and he analyzed why people bought. And he realized that they had metrics, they had all of the things that it was. So that is a buyer-centric sales process. And if we actually think of it that way about, let's say people that sat around a boardroom and they go, oh, we've got a problem. Who's going to handle this? What metrics do we want to achieve by this? It becomes buyer-led. And I think that as leaders, we need to train our teams and enable our teams to understand whether it's rapid, whether it's racy, but how companies make decisions, whether it's to buy or whether it's to paint a wall, it doesn't matter, but how do they make decisions and how do we align with that? And I think it's moved from that, right, it's discovery, it's this, it's that, to, okay, it's a stage of, right, do they know this? Okay, then it moves to the next stage. So completely putting it on its head and building a taking people with compassion, EQ, and building a sales process that is very buyer-centric about how people buy, with a decision-making framework and what they look at and how they do it.
And then as we go into the final play here, if people have questions, feel free to put in the Q&A. Now it comes down to the modern sales enabler, right? Because at the end of the day, like we just talked about it, there's a lot of stakeholders, there's a lot of things going on, et cetera. So I know each of you have a play for this, but also as we go into this, going back to you, Ollie, you said obviously you can't control how many decision makers or stakeholders come into the conversation. From your own experience as you work at Trumpet, you obviously are using your own dog food here with the digital sales rooms. Like, how do you have like a sales room for like each different stakeholder you talk to? Is there a stakeholder that you're trying to get to more than to another stakeholder? So for example, it's like, we're just trying to get to the VP of sales every single time because we know when they're in that deal, it's a 40% increase in close. I'm making numbers up, but like, how do you think about this in terms of the modern sales enablement for that buyer?
Yeah, we don't, it's more about the entry point to a deal is more of a person or an area, because a VP of sales or a sales leader knows the pains downwards and knows the goals upwards. So they're the ideal person to open a door and get it started. From there, no, because every company is different. We might have enablement in, we might have operations, we might have project managers. There's so many different people that can come in. But what we do, and yes, we use we call it drinking our own champagne rather than eating our own dog food. I'm not sure which is better. But
that's just the term I learned, man. Maybe I need to change. Maybe I need to change my language. This is what I learned.
Bit more French champagne. So, yeah, what we try to do is, it's all about the understanding and the questioning to understand them. Who is involved? Who needs to be involved? What do they want? And we will regularly create one page purely for one person. So we're trying to take each person on the journey they need. Sometimes you can group it together, you have a summary, etc. But we've just sent one page to the CEO of a company with a message from my CEO, with a video of what matters to them in our product. Because what matters to them of what our product can deliver is so different to a RevOps person or to an AE or the VP. So it's very much about that guided specific content and whatever that you're providing to them and the video that's relevant to them. But you've got to understand them first. You've got to either do the research or have questioning that gets you to understand them. And once you're doing that, you are giving multiple guided journeys to all these different people around their own pains and how your product relates to them. It's a completely different journey for them. And it's going back to it becoming more buyer-centric, and they're changing, as we said at the beginning, they want to know what they want at the right time with the right content. You can do that if you're doing it in the right way. And most of the time, I'm telling my sales team to slow down. Don't jump to demo. Don't jump to this. You haven't got this bit yet. You don't understand what the CEO wants. You don't understand this. So I think this whole idea of slowing down to go faster in a sales process is so important.
Okay. Christina, anything you want to add to this?
I mean, I feel like he nailed that one. Slowing down to go fast is huge. Like that's the biggest thing, is like we get so caught up in our own inertia that we make mistakes and miss them along the way. And it's like, if I tie that to a metaphor, it's always that like running a marathon with a pebble in your shoe. You know, it's like you're running a marathon with a pebble in your shoe and you're making really, really good time, but then that pebble starts to drill into your foot and you're like, but I'm ahead. And if I stop and take the pebble out of my shoe, then I'm going to lose all of my momentum. Versus if you stop and take the pebble out of your shoe, you can go faster. But that idea of stopping, pausing, and making sure that what you're doing is the right thing, I think is huge. So I'm giving like 15 plus ones to what Ollie said.
15?
Like 15. The thing that I would add in terms of like, in terms of modern ways to enable, we've talked a lot about all of the different stakeholders that can enter into a conversation. Rarely have I seen a sales team that is properly trained from a skill standpoint and how to lead a valuable conversation with multiple different persona types within an organization. Because we don't work there, right? So if you are multi-threading into a deal and you have 8 or 9 stakeholders that are from all different departments, what they are entering into that conversation with is all very, very different. And they are coming with very, very different experiences, and expecting sales reps to simply know how to provide the right level of value to each of those individuals and speak to them is a really tall order. And it's also something for a long time that has gone completely unmeasured. And so the first step in making sure that your team is able to handle deals where you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 50 stakeholders is, have I properly trained and up-leveled my team from an enablement standpoint to provide value to the different types of personas that they are going to come across? And so That's the biggest thing that I would say is if your team is not trained from a skill standpoint on providing the value that they need to get a deal done, maybe start there.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing is knowing what to do to get the deal done, and like how do deals typically get done, and making sure you can guide people in that process as a whole. And at least like the 3 takeaways. And then for everyone still here, if you have questions, like now is the time as we wrap up. So the main thing here is that we learned the buyer-led experience, how exactly you can enable your team to do that. The other thing that we like drilled into is like making sure that when you are in this process, understanding what are the mutual action plans, not non-mutual action plans. So obviously that's really critical. And then also understanding as well that more stakeholders are going to be added to this equation. How do you make sure that they all know what's going on? How do you make sure it's aligned, et cetera? So if anyone has any questions though, feel free to chime in with those questions. As people come up with their questions for both of you, what are some final takeaways you want people to walk away with that they can execute right after this? And also let people know where exactly can they find you if they want to learn more about what you're doing.
Sure. I'll start. The main takeaway that we talked about, like if I take all of this and I sum it up, it's that there is not one way to do the sales that is going to be ultimately successful. And that's difficult because what we hear often is you have to do things like personalization at scale. I know that if you are a BDR or an account executive, one of the jobs that you have is that mass amount of outreach and throwing a ton of hooks. And it feels like a ton of mixed messaging because you hear us talking about building really specific and prescriptive journeys for buyers. And on the flip side, it's how am I going to find the time for the 300 people that I have to email a week to uber personalize every single journey? And so I think the first thing is meeting together with your leadership or the peers on your team or enablement and learning and development and talking about what is the right way for us to delight buyers from the first moment that we intersect with them. And it may not be sending everybody that cold case study or that cold white paper or putting together a paragraph by first referencing the college that they went to, right? Personalization sometimes comes down to one or two really good trailer sentences. So I would say that. And then what was your second question that I was supposed to answer?
Where can people find you?
Where can you find me?
Where can people find you? I mean, that's fine too.
You can find me on LinkedIn, Christina Brady. I'm bouncing around. You can also, if you're checking out Luster, you can email me, Christina, at luster.ai. We do a lot of that kind of initial persona enablement that I talked about and making sure that your team is prepared. So you can find me around. Usually if there's a conference happening, I'm bopping around it somewhat. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Ollie, talk to us.
For me, I think the biggest takeaway I would suggest people think about is it's all about making it easy for your prospects to buy from you, making that your differentiator. And I think that a lot of the time, what makes that difference is the importance of EQ, of understanding and asking the questions to understand their pains, what they need, etc. It's no longer let's drive this deal forward and think internally with blinkers. It's how do we drive the deal forward by giving them what they need at this moment in time and working in a collaborative way with them. And that's just a completely different mindset to what it was 10, 20 years ago. And that's what we've got to do. And I'm quite happy about this because sales needed to change the face of sales. It had an annoying brand to it. And the more we are better at doing this and understanding and guiding and collaborating, the better it is for the brand of the industry anyway, which I would be really pleased with. Where you find me, LinkedIn. I've got obviously a profile there, Ollie Sharpe, work at Trumpet. And if anybody, I mean, as you can understand, our tool helps with this. If anybody just want to get a demo, talk to us, feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to intro you to one of my team or for me to show you through it. Mutual action plans, uncovering stakeholders, guided journeys, we help with it all.
Awesome. And it looks like we don't see anyone with the questions yet. And the goal here, everybody, as you walk away, is take this information, bring it back to your team, and decide to do one of these things. You were here with the time today. People came in with some really good questions. Make sure you actually take these insights and go execute and go do those things, right? That's going to be the key out of all of this. But if you all don't have any lasting thoughts, I believe we've covered everything that we're looking to cover today. I don't see any questions that have come in here. So I just appreciate y'all coming on this panel today, taking your time. Oh, wait, no, here we go. Ashley's coming in with the last question here. So how best to engage prospects who currently aren't engaging when more buyers are wishing to do their own research online and private? What is y'all's take on this?
There's a difference between engaging and engaging with you. Just because they're not replying back to your email doesn't mean they're not engaging with your company. And so if you have a prospect who is not engaging or replying back with you, the thing that I would do is continue to give them things to research on their own and stay front of mind. Engagement does not mean that they are talking to you. They may not be ready for that yet. I have bought several tools where for a long time, the sales rep was reaching out to me or following on LinkedIn. And I wasn't ready. I wasn't there. And then they were front of mind when I had that problem to solve. So redefine what engagement actually looks like. And if they're not going to engage with you, give them something they want to engage with. Record them a video, right? Like we talked about that. Like engagement does not have to be a back and forth conversation. In fact, as Ollie said, what is it like 25, 30% of, no, like 75, 80% of the time, if not more, it's not going to be engaging with you, right? What is that? Like 87% of the time they're not engaging with you.
83%. They only spend 17% of the time with you.
There you go. See?
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to make this about Trumpet all the time. I think it's completely right. Just because they're not engaging with you, they might be engaging with your content. And it's about, do you know whether they're engaging with your content, which is really important. You can send a PDF over, you have no idea whether they do anything with it. But if you can understand, are they reading what I send them? Send them something every week. And if they're opening it and reading it, then they are engaging with you. It's just not one-to-one basis.
Yeah, it's really about, I don't know the best way to put this, catering to the lurkers, I guess, to put it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like that's really what it is. Like I think that's even on social, like completely different conversation. But you really have to think about how many people are lurking and consuming and will never give you that feedback, but they are there. Someone is lurking in the background. So pay attention to the lurkers. So with that being said, again, great questions. Thanks everybody for showing up. Our goal is to continuously have this series. We'll talk about the next episode in Sales Symphony that again is brought to you by Trumpet. But appreciate everybody tuning in today. Again, hope you learned something that you can go execute on, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.